What's going on, y'all? This is old school. This is part three. Um, it'll be the last part. I don't know what happened to part one. I'm gonna have to do a part one again. Tires. But part three is the motor. So let's get down and let's take a look at the motor on a DD15, right? Okay. All right. Let's pop the hood real quick. Because guys are coming in and I try to hurry up and get this done so I can be right. All right. All right. So what you're dealing here with is the motor. First part I'm gonna start with is the antifreeze. Now, guys, you see that color is red. We call that red cap. Okay. On a red cap antifreeze, when you go into Pilot Loves, whatever, you're gonna see it. It's gonna say 50/50 pre-diluted. You don't want to add water in these motors. You'll mess them up. They're used to the 50/50. If it has a red cap, that's what it is. I believe those them yellow bottles, those Prestones that are 50/50, they're yellow. You can mix it, but you don't really want to because it will mess it up. Because red cap is designed a specific way. Let me show you this right here. You see this right here? All of these new motors got sensors on them. Okay. Um, the sensor that I just pointed out, when this antifreeze gets to about right here, it's gonna start slushing around. See that? When it starts slushing around like that, that sensor's gonna go off. You're gonna get all kind of bells and whistles on the dash telling you that, hey, you don't have enough antifreeze. Same with the oil, because these motors were designed with nothing but sensors on them. Not like the old style motors, and anything that's low, you're gonna get a light. Even the windshield wiper fluid, you're gonna get a light. So keep it topped off. Sometimes I just go ahead and fill it up to the top. There's a line on them, on right here. See it right here. So keep keep it filled so that you don't have to deal with that light. Keep your 2 bottles of antifreeze. Keep your 2 bottles of oil. Okay. Check your hoses. Okay. Make sure they're not broken or there's a problem. Oil goes here, as we know. Okay. Um, this is your filter for the fuel. Okay. You can keep a couple of extra ones because they basically they may not have none in the shop. So go ahead and put you some away so that you basically can change them. The other ones here, there's 2 right there. So another place that you might have a slow leak if you're having leaking air, like I was telling you about the airbags before, right here on the firewall. Okay, these lines right here, you might want to check them. Sometimes your air leaks come from behind your air brakes up on the dash. What'll happen is they call them quick connects. They're all over the truck. Quick connects. Remember that word, quick connect. Ask a mechanic what a quick connect look like. I can show you. They're right here. All they do is pop on, pop off. Okay, so those are your quick connects. Okay, another thing I'm gonna touch on is this right here. See what this is? Power steering fluid. How many of you experienced drivers put power steering fluid in there? It says power steering fluid, but what you want is brake fluid. Okay, most of them, I'm sorry, not brake fluid. I almost made a mistake there. Make y'all mess up. Don't put brake fluid in there. Don't put brake fluid in there. Don't put power steering fluid in there. What you want is automatic transmission fluid. That is what is used in the power steering reservoir. They don't use power steering fluid. I don't know why. Maybe some of these old hands can tell you, but I've always been taught to put automatic transmission fluid in there. Okay. Another thing, this right here, that is your air dryer. Okay. You know, underneath the truck there's a compressor. Okay, this is a real simple system. What you want to do every so many 100,000 miles is replace that filter in there. Why? Because it gets dirty and it gets clogged, just like this one up here. Right up under here, there's a filter, a big one, okay? You want to take that filter out. They're not cheap either, and if you can find them, you're lucky. But there's it's a filter in there, and there's one in there. Just like your cabin filters, those are filters that are on the Cascadia, okay? I've changed mine on that one. It's pretty big. It's a big filter. On this one, you can change it or you can let them change it. On this reservoir sensor, I know you can change it because I can change it. All it is a clamp right here that plugs into this part, and this screws off. That's the sensor. A lot of times they go bad. But with the air dryer system, it's just basically the hoses as you see, and they run back to your tanks. Let me show you the tank. That is your air tank, okay? While I'm back here, let's check the drive line. So long as that's not loose, we're good. Usually, you'll be able to move it around, especially if you get up underneath it. Usually it's because the U-joints are going right down here. These are your U-joints. They usually take those off when you tow, okay? You get a record, there's another U-joint up there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but when you're towed in, or you have to be towed off the highway, they'll knock those U-joints out and drop your drive line, because that's the only way they can stop the wheels from turning while they're dragging you down the highway. They do it all the time. Another thing, back to the motor. We're going to touch on a lot of stuff on the motor, so it might be just a little bit longer video. Okay, this right here. This is your steering gearbox. What happens with the steering gearbox? They hardly ever go out. Me was a newbie like you. Had the mechanic at the TA in West North Carolina tell me your steering gearbox is gone. They hardly ever go out. If they do replace it, make sure they fix your steering column, because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll replace it and leave your steering wheel facing left or facing right instead of facing straight up and down. But they rarely go out. Your control arm, there shouldn't be no play in it, okay? Usually a DOT officer will grab it and give it a quick tug, a snug, and jam on it, whatever, to make sure that it's not working, that it's working properly. Another thing with the air dryer, what happens is, back in the day, you used to have lines, and those lines were right here. Let me show you. I'm not going to get down there. I do believe they're under there. I can't see them right now. But there used to be pull lines. A lot of guys now have the valve system where you just turn on. You know, you can get them installed just like you can get the drain plug on the oil installed. It makes it easier. These lines, they were underneath the truck, and basically what they did was, because I do believe this is like a 2015 or 2016, but those lines under there, that was if you still have DEF. If you don't worry about it. But if you still have DEF, that was the cause to the mechanics that I spoke to at the company I was working for at the time. He said, and he told me, quote unquote, a lot of guys don't drain those lines or don't drain their tanks. I've drained some tanks, fellas. I've seen rust brown come out of them. I've seen moisture come out of them, because when it's cold, those tanks build up water, and there's alcohol in those tanks. And what happens is, when you pull on that line, you're supposed to drain them every night, okay? When you drain those tanks every night, you can restart the truck and keep comfortable, but you want to shut it off to drain those tanks and go away. Right now, the reason I'm not checking the oil is because the truck is hot. It's been idling because it's hot out here, and I've had the air conditioner on, so I can't really check the oil. Usually you want to wait about anywhere from, according to a mechanic I spoke to, an hour to 2 hours for the oil to settle back down in the motor. and then you check it. So that means if you're going to check your oil and it's going to be right, you need to go inside, watch TV, do whatever, and come back out in an hour or two and check it. And by that time, the oil should have settled down back into the pan. Back to the dryer. So you do want to change this filter, okay? This is the cause of a lot of DEF problems. One of the causes, I'm not going to say it's the major cause, but this is one of the causes because guys don't drain their tanks. This filter is dirty and it needs to be replaced. You can do it yourself. It's a filter in there. I'm not going to do it, but there is a filter in there. I've had mine redone. And then, like I was saying, the sensors on here, you check the, another thing, shocks. My truck has new shocks all the way around, but one of the things that I'm going to tell you guys is when it comes to shocks, you want to make sure that you replace them, because you will feel when you're going down the highway, the bang of the bump feels like the whole truck is falling apart. That's usually because your shocks are gone. Your truck has any amount of substantial miles, usually that's what's going to be the problem. The shocks. Replace the shocks. Guys call it preventative maintenance. You don't know who replaced those shocks. You don't know who replaced those airbags before you. You don't know who replaced the air dryer. You know, you want to go through and replace things when you can, when you have the funds for it. But this is what you call preventative maintenance. So you're not that guy sitting on the side of the highway down there on the road because you didn't do your due diligence. Okay. All right, moving on. We're going to check the hose. Okay. What we got over here? You want to make sure that all of your leaf springs not cracked, bent, broken, or anything like that. Shocks again. Reservoir to the windshield wiper fluid. Okay, one of the things I want to show you guys, because a lot of guys don't talk about this, okay? You want to make sure all your Carter keys and all that is, you know, straight, that they're all there and there's none missing, okay? Brakes. You see this line right here? Because they don't tell you about that. Where is it? Let me put my finger on it. That line right there, where I got my finger, okay? Can you see that? That line, okay? Look real good if you have to expand it to see it. That line right there, you know what that line is? And that's what DOT go by. They look at your brakes and they go, they're either out of adjustments because of slack adjuster and you have to have somebody come adjust it, or you can do it, or you basically, your brakes are too low, or they're at a certain point where your brakes are needing to be replaced. Well, that line I just pointed out to you, let me see if I can get another one. Right here. There's one. See that line right there? That little gap in there? Right there? What that is, when your brakes wear down, it wears down with that line. So that's how they can tell, hey man, your brakes are low or your brakes are full. You can check it on every brake on this truck and make sure that all your brakes are functioning. You want to do that. I mean, you may not do it at the initial pre-trip, but as you go along, those are things that you can do. Okay, I'm parked for a 30-minute break. Let me take my break. Okay, I'm not going nowhere for the night. Okay, let me check my brakes before it get dark. And you go around and you check all your brakes. That's how you can tell if your brakes are worn down. That's what that mark is. Here we got an alternator. I've replaced mine, and our compressor for the air conditioner. I'm going to test the tension on the belts with the... So they're tight, okay? And that's the engine pretty much on a pre-trip. I'm not a mechanic. You're not a mechanic. If there's something that you feel that you can't do, take it to a shop. It's going to cost you, but take it to a shop. And that will make sure that, you know, it's done. Because what we're talking about here is pre-trips. We're not talking repairs. Repairs can get expensive. But you want to price those repairs just like if you were pricing anything else. You just don't want to go and, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to buy that. You know, it costs me this. Do your due diligence, price everything. It's uh, old school out. And I'm gonna do it part one again because for some reason it didn't download. All right, guys. Talk to you later.